Well, sit down, Mr. Wolf. Like I told you, I would rather walk out. You see, this sort of thing makes you feel a bit jumpy.
Yes, very probably.
Well, what I mean is, I can't believe it's me this is happening. I mean, I keep thinking, perhaps it's all a dream and I'll wake up presently.
Well, I suppose one might think like that.
But, I mean, it seems so silly to me.
Silly, Mr. Wolf.
Well, yes, I mean, I've always been a friendly sort of chap. I mean, I get along with people and all that. I'm not the sort of fellow that does, well, anything violent. But I suppose it will be alright. I mean, you never get convicted for things you haven't done this country.
Well, our English judicial system is, in my opinion, the finest in the world. But we have a habit of not making it. Anyway, perhaps we may fill in on the background. You are currently unemployed, Mr. Wolf.
Yes, but I've got a few pounds put by. I mean, it's not much.
Oh no, Mr. Wolf, I'm not talking about legal fees. It's the picture I'm trying to paint. So, how long have you been unemployed?
Well, about 3 months.
And what were you doing before that?
I worked in an open house farm. Kind of mechanic, that's what I was.
How long did you work there?
About 3 months.
Wait a judge.
No, I quit. I have some words with the foreman. Awful old bastard. Pardon my language, Mr. Menu, but you see, he was a mean sort of chap, always picking on you.
And before that?
I worked in a petrol station. But I left. And then before that, I was selling egg beaters on commission. You might be thinking I'm a bit of a drifter, sir, but you see, it's not really true. I'm not really like that. You see, doing my army service unsettled me a bit. That and being abroad, I was in Germany once. It was fine there. But you see, that's where I met my wife. She's an actress and a pretty devoted wife too. But you see, I haven't been much of a provider to her. And Romain and I have been living together for around 2 or 3 years.
Hello,
John. Wilfred.
As I told you, I was in court. But generally surpassed himself.
How do you do, Wilfred?
Very good. So, how's family, John? Wait, this is?
This is Leonard Bull. You're like
How do you do, sir?
How do you do, Bull? What do you sit down?
Thank you, sir.
So, how's family, John?
Molly's got a touch of this 24-hour food.
Too bad.
Yes, damn will indeed. Did you win your case, Wilfred?
Well, I'm glad to say.
It always gives you great satisfaction to beat Miles, doesn't it?
It gives me satisfaction to beat anyone.
But especially Miles.
Especially Miles. He's this irritating sort of gentleman. He always seems to bring out the worst in me.
Well, that would appear to be usual. You irritate him because you hardly ever let him finish a sentence.
He irritates me because of that mannerism of his. It's this that drives me to distraction, and he'll always call me robots. But he's a very able advocate, you see. If only he'd remember not to ask leading questions when he knows damn well he shouldn't. So, your name is?
Leonard Bolton.
You happen to carry much, would you like?
No, sir, I don't smoke.
You said that already. Well, let's get down to business.
Yes, Mr. Warrior. I'm anxious for you to hear the story exactly as you told it to me. There is some urgency in the matter, it seems.
Oh.
Well, my wife thinks I'm going to get arrested. She's much cleverer than I am, so she may be right.
Arrested for what?
Well, for murder.
It's the case of Miss Emily French. She must have seen the reports in the press. She was a maid lady living alone but for a housekeeper in a house in Hampstead. On the night of October the 14th, the housekeeper returned home at 11 o'clock to find that the lady had been crushed in the back of the head and killed. That is right, so.
Yeah, that's right. And you see, that's quite a normal thing to happen nowadays. And well, the other day, the paper said that the police were anxious to interview Leonard Bull, who had visited Miss Emily French that evening in question. So well, I went along to the police station and they asked me a lot of questions.
Did they caution you?
I don't quite know. I mean, they said, would you like to make a statement? And they wrote it down. And it might be used in court. Is that caution?
Well, can't be helped now.
Well, anyway, it seemed damn silly to me. I mean, I told them all I could. But you see, when I went home and told Romain about it, well, that's my wife, she got agitated. I mean, she seemed to think that they had got hold of the idea that I might have done it. So I thought I should get hold of a solicitor. So I came to Mr. Mayhew. And now he thinks he needs a lawyer, so he came to you. Well, in the morning I had no lawyers, and now I have two. Funny, isn't it?
Mr. Ward, I am a solicitor, and Sir Wilfred a barrister, and only a barrister can represent you in court.
Yes.
See,
I found a match, finally. It's a you. Oh, so you knew Miss French well?
oh yes, I mean, she had been frightfully kind to me. Actually, it was a bit of a bore sometimes. She positively fussed over me. But she meant it pretty well. When I saw it in the paper that she had been murdered, I was awfully upset. Because you see, I really got fond of her.
Do tell Sir Wilfred exactly how you came to make about Miss French's acquaintance.
Yeah, well, you see, it was one fine day in Avenue Street. I saw an old lady crossing the road carrying a lot of parcels. And in the middle of the road, she dropped them. Tried to get hold of them again, and then suddenly found a bus was almost on top of her. Well, she just managed to get to the curb safely. And as it happens, I recovered her parcels on the street, wiped off some of the mud as best I could, and generally suited her earlier down.
And she was grateful.
I mean, yes, she seemed very grateful. Anyone would think that I would have saved her life instead of her parcels.
There was actually no question of you having saved her life.
Oh no, nothing heroic. I mean, I never expected to see her again.
Okay?
No, thank you, sir, never do.
So, seems like you got a touch of knowledge too yourself. Come on, make us a bit. So,
As I was saying, by an extraordinary coincidence, 2 days later, I happened to be sitting behind an investigator. Well, she looked round, recognized me, and began to talk. And in the end, she asked me to come and see her.
and you went to our house at
Hampstead.
Hampstead. What did you know about her when you first went to the house?
Well, from what she told me, it seemed that she was rather lonely and never had many friends. Something of that sort.
It says she lived with only a housekeeper.
Yeah, that's right.
Had you reason to believe that she was well off?
Well, she talked as though she was.
And you yourself?
Oh, I'm practically slowly broke, sir, and actually have been for a long time.
Unfortunate, isn't it?
Yes, it is rather. Oh, you mean people will say I was sucking up to her for her money?
I shouldn't have put it quite like that, but in a sense, yes, that is possibly what people might say.
But it isn't really true, you know. I mean, I rather felt sorry for her. I thought she was lonely. You see, I was brought up by my old aunt, my Aunt Betsy, and in fact, I like old ladies.
Old ladies, do you know what age Miss French was?
Well, I did not, but I saw it in the paper after she was murdered. She was 56.
56. You consider that old, Mr. Bull, but I should doubt if Miss Emily French considered herself old.
Well, but you can't call it a chilling kind.
Good. Let's get on.
So Wilfred, I'm very sorry I just came up with another important business to attend to. I'll be back in a while. Mr. Wood, I can go in.
Yeah, sure, I'll drop you off, Mayor. So, Mr. Boyd, you visited Miss French fairly frequently.
Oh, Sir Wilfred, what happened to the lights?
Please answer my question. You visited Miss French fairly frequently.
But sir, I mean, the lights.
Yes. Please answer my question.
Yes, once or twice a week perhaps.
Did you take your wife to see her?
No, I didn't.
Why didn't you?
Well, I don't think it would have gone down very well if I had.
You mean with your wife or with Miss French?
With Miss French, you see, she got rather fond of me.
Do you mean she fell in love with you?
Oh, good Lord, no. Nothing of that kind. I mean, she just sort of pampered me and spoiled me. Something of that sort.
You see, Mr. Bole, I have no doubt part of the police case against you. If there is a case against you, which as yet we have no definite reason to suppose, will be why did you, young, good-looking, married, devote so much of your time to an elderly woman with whom you would have hardly very much in common?
Yes, I know they will say that I was after her for her money. And perhaps it's true in a way, but only in a way.
At least you are frank, Mr. Bole. Can you explain a little more clearly?
Well, you see, she made no secret of the fact that she was rolling in money. And as I told you, Romain and I are pretty hard up. Actually, I will admit that I was hoping for some money. I'm being honest about it.
Did you ask her for a loan?
No, I didn't. I mean, things were desperate.
Mr. Bole, Miss French knew you were a married man.
Yes, she did.
But she didn't suggest you should bring your wife to see her.
No, she didn't. Well, she seemed to take it for granted that my wife and I didn't get on.
Did you deliberately give her that impression?
No, I didn't. Indeed, I didn't. But she seemed to assume it. And I thought if I kept dragging her way into it, she would lose interest in me. You see, I did not want exactly to swindle money from her. But I had invented a new gadget for a car, and I thought I could have persuaded her to finance it. But I wasn't sponging on her service, really, I wasn't.
What sums of money did you obtain at any time from Miss French?
Well, none at all.
Tell me something about the housekeeper.
Giant Mackenzie. Well, she was an old talent. When she looked after Miss French pretty well. But the poor old dear never had a will of her own. I think Giant didn't like me at all.
Why didn't she like you?
Oh, jealous, I expect. I don't think she liked my helping Mrs. French with her business affairs.
Oh, so you helped Miss French with her business affairs?
Yes, I mean, she had some problems with the investments and she found it a bit difficult to fill her forms. I actually assisted her with a lot of things like that.
Now, Mr. Bole, I'm going to ask you a very serious question. And it's one to which it's vital I should have a truthful answer. You were in low waters financially. You had the handling of this lady's affairs. Now, did you at any time try to convert to your own use the securities that you handled?
No, sir.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Bole, before you answer. Because you see that there are 2 points of view. Either we can make a feature of your probity and honesty, or if you swindled the woman in any way, then you must take the line that you had no motive for murder. What I want from you is the truth. Take your time if you like before you reply.
Well, I assure you, sir, that I played dead straight and you won't find anything to the contrary. Dead straight.
Thank you, Mr. Bole. You relieve my mind very much. I pay you the compliment of believing that you are far too intelligent to lie over such a vital matter. And now we come to the night of October the
14th. And he said, let there be light.
Mayor, we came back. So, yes, did Miss French ask you to go and see that?
That is yours to me. Actually, she didn't, as a matter of fact. But you see, I had invented a new gadget for a car, and I thought she would like it. So I went there that evening at about 7:45. She had actually finished her supper. Then we had a cup of coffee and played a game of Double Demon. Then about at 9 o'clock, I said goodnight and I went home.
You are talking about Jack Mackenzie, right? You told me she said she came home that evening earlier than usual, right?
Yes, because you see, she had forgotten something. And she said she heard somebody talking to Miss French. Well, whoever it wasn't me.
Can you prove that, Mr. Bole?
Of course I can prove it. You see, I was at home with Romain by then. That's what the police kept asking me. Where I was at 9:30. I mean, some days one wouldn't know where one was. Well, as it happens, I may very well remember that I was at home with Romain by then and he hadn't gone out again.
And your wife will say definitely that you were at home at that time, Mr. Bole.
Well, of course she will.
So you are very fond of your wife and your wife very fond of you.
I am actually. You see, Romain's wonderful. She is the most devoted wife any man could have.
Ah, I see. You are happily married.
Couldn't be happier. I would like to know her, Mr. William.
Yes, Greta.
I have your herbal tea in the evening paper.
Herbal tea. Now, Greta, if you really wish to poison me, there are far more elegant and graceful potions out
Oh, come
there.
now, Sir Wilfred. You know you must drink this. Otherwise, the doctor said it'll be back to your gas.
That is a little too much information and can be easily dispensed with. Now, here, give me my devil's drink and let it be. Where are my manners? No offense, Mr. Bole and all that. But would you like a cup of this Chinese torture?
No, thank you, Mr. Wilfred. I'm staring death in the eye anyway.
Anyway, Mr. Bole, I think it is advisable for us to have a meeting with your wife.
Well, you mean a normal roundtable conference?
Well, Mr. Bole, I'm afraid you're not taking this business quite seriously.
I am really but it seems so much like a bad dream. I mean, that it should be happening to me. Murder. I mean, it's a thing you read about in books or newspapers, but you can't believe it's a thing which would ever happen to you or touch you in any sort of way. But perhaps that's why I keep trying to make a joke of it. But it isn't a joke really.
No, I'm afraid it's not a joke, sir.
But it's all right, isn't it? I mean, if they think that she was killed at 9:30, and I was at home with Romain by then.
The evidence of a wife unsupported by any other evidence may not be completely convincing, Mr. Ward.
You mean they would think that Romain would tell a lie now?
It has been known, Mr. Ward.
Of course she would do. Only in this case, she won't be telling a lie. I mean, it really happened. You do believe in it?
It is not me you will have to convince, Mr. Ward. You were aware, were you not, that Miss French left you a bill leaving you all her money?
Left all the money to me? You're joking, right?
I'm not joking. It's in tonight's evening paper.
I can hardly believe it.
You're quite sure of that, Mr. Ward?
I'm absolutely sure. I mean, she never said a word.
Supplies you with a very adequate motive, though.
Do you think that they're going to arrest me?
I think you must prepare yourself for that eventuality, Mr. Ward.
You will do the best you can for me, won't you, Sir Wilfred?
You may rest assured, my dear Mr. Ward, that I'll do everything in my power to help you. Don't worry. Leave everything in my hands.
And you will look after Romain. I mean, she'll be an
Don't worry, my boy. Don't worry.
Then the money side too. That worries me. I've got a few quid, but it's not much. Perhaps I shouldn't have asked you to do anything for me.
Do not worry, Mr. Wolf. I think we shall be able to put up adequate defense. The court provides for these cases, you know.
I still can't believe it. I can't believe that I, Leonard Cole, may be standing in a dock saying not guilty.
Inspector Hall is here to see you.
Sorry?
Inspector Hall is here to see you.
Oh, all right, sir. I'll go and talk to him.
God, is this it?
I'm afraid it may be, my boy. Now stay calm. Make no further statements and leave it all to us.
Sorry to disturb you in your chamber, Sir Wilfred.
If that's all right. And this is the dangerous Leonard Cole. You'd better search him. He might be armed with an egg beater.
Is your name Leonard Cole?
Yes, sir.
Detective Inspector Hall. I have here a warrant for your arrest on the charge of murdering Emily French on October 14th last. I must warn you that anything you say might be taken down and used in evidence.
Okay, I'm ready.
Inspector Hall, my name is Mayhew and I will be representing Mr. Wolf.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayhew. That's quite all right. We'll take him and charge him now.
Oh, Inspector, would you make sure that Mr. Ward is well treated?
Yes, sir.
Here, have a cigarette.
That's very kind of you, sir.
I better not. It might constitute a bribe.
You ought to be going home. We'll see you soon, sir, I expect.
Yes.
Hope we don't inconvenience you, Sir Wilfred.
Oh, I'm never inconvenienced. I must say, John, that man is in a worse mess than he seems to think.
He certainly is. How does he strike you?
Extraordinarily kind. Yet in some ways shrewd. Intelligent, I should say. But he certainly doesn't realize the danger of his position.
I know. You think he did it?
I'm not sure. On the whole, I should say not. You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Then he seems to have impressed both of us favorably. Can't think why. Never heard a weaker story. God knows what are we going to do with it. The only evidence in his favor seems to be his wife's. And who's going to believe a wife anyway?
Perhaps you prefer not to accept the belief then.
Who says I won't accept it? Just because the boy has an absolute tomfool story to tell.
But a true one?
Must be a true one. It couldn't be so idiotic if it wasn't true. Put down all the facts in black and white and you realize that the whole thing is utterly damning. And yet when you talk to this boy, you realize that the whole thing could happen just as he said. Damn it. I had an equivalent of Aunt Betsy myself. I loved her dearly.
I think he's got a good personality though. Quite sympathetic.
Yes, he ought to go down well with the jury. That cuts no ice with the judge though. A lot depends on this girl. Yes, Greta.
So, Richard, Mrs. Leonard Cole is here to see you.
Yes, Greta.
My dear Mrs. Wolf.
You must be Mr. Mayhew.
Yes, and this is Sir Wilfred Lopez. He has agreed to handle your husband's case for him.
How do you do, Sir Wilfred?
How do you do?
I have just come from the office, Mr. Mayhew. You told me you were here tonight.
Quite.
Just as I arrived, I thought I saw they were getting into the car. They were convinced.
Now you must not be upset, my dear Mr. Wola. Won't you please sit down here?
Thank you.
Now, there is no reason to be alarmed as yet, but you must not give in, Mr. Wola.
Oh no, I shall not give in.
Then let me tell you that, as perhaps you might already suspect, your husband has just been arrested.
So the murder is Miss Emily French?
I'm afraid so, yes, but please don't be upset, Mr. Wola.
You keep saying that, Mr. Mayhew, but I am not upset.
No, I see you have great fortitude.
You can call it that if you like.
The important thing is to be calm and tackle all this sensibly.
That suits me very well. But you must not hide anything from me, Mr. Mayhew. You must not try and spare me. I want to know everything. I want to know the worst.
Splendid. Splendid, that's the right way to tackle things. Now, Mrs. Cole, your husband became friendly with Miss French about 6 weeks ago. You are aware of that friendship?
Yes. He told me that he had rescued an old lady on parcels one day in the middle of a crowded street. He told me that she had asked him to go and see her.
All very natural, and he did go and see her.
Yes.
And they became great friends?
Evidently.
So there was no question of your accompanying your husband on any occasion?
Leonard thought it better not.
Just between ourselves, why did he think it better not?
He thought Miss French might prefer it that way.
Oh, I can see that you have perfect trust in your husband, knowing him as well as you do.
I know Leonard very well.
I can't tell you how much I admire your calm and your courage, Mrs. Wall, knowing as I do how very devoted you are.
So you know how devoted I am to you?
Of course.
But you do not know that I am devoted to Leonard of your own knowledge. Do you, so?
No, that is of course true, but your husband told me.
Leonard told you how devoted I was to you?
Indeed, he spoke of your devotion in the most moving terms.
Men, I often think, are very stupid.
I beg your pardon.
It does not matter. Please go on.
This Miss French was a woman of some considerable wealth. She had no near relations. Like many eccentric ladies, she was fond of making wills. She made several wills in her lifetime, and shortly after meeting her husband, she made a fresh will. After small requests, she left the whole of her fortune to your husband.
Yes.
You know that?
I read it in the paper this evening.
Before reading it in the paper, you had no idea of it? Your husband had no idea of the fact?
Is that what he told you?
Yes. You don't suggest anything different, do you?
Oh no. I do not suggest anything.
Mrs. Wall, I think we need to be clear about this, that Miss French looked upon your husband in the light of a son, or rather a favorite nephew.
You think Miss French looked upon Leonard as a son or a nephew?
Well, yes, I think so. Definitely, I think so. I think it is quite normal under these circumstances.
What hypocrites you are in this country.
My dear Mrs. Wall.
I shock you. I am so sorry.
Of course, you have this continental way of looking at these things, but I must assure you, this is not the line to take. It would be most unwise to suggest in any case that Miss French had any feelings for Leonard Cole other than those of her mother, or shall we say an aunt.
By all means, let us say an aunt to believe it best.
One has to think of the effect of all these things on the children, Mrs. Cole.
Yes, I also wish to do that. I've been thinking of that a good deal.
Quite so. So we must work together. And now we come to the evening of October 14th. That is just over a week ago. Do you remember that evening?
I remember it very well.
Mr. Wold tells me that he has an absolute alibi for that time, since he was with you at 9:30. This is so, is it not? He was with you at 9:30.
Is that what Leonard says? That he was home with me at 9:30?
Is it true?
But it was.
Possibly the police have already questioned you on that point.
Yes, they came to see me yesterday evening.
And you said?
I said Leonard Bone came home at 9:25 and did not go out again. That's what Leonard comes to say, is it not?
No, that is of course true. You said so just now.
Of course. If I say yes, that Leonard was visiting the flat at 9:30, will they acquit him?
But
Will they let him go?
Mrs. Wall, if you are both speaking the truth, then they will have to acquit him.
But when I said that to the police, I do not think they believed me.
What makes you think they did not believe you?
Perhaps I did not say it very well.
Mrs. Cole, I don't quite understand your attitude in all this.
So you don't understand. Perhaps it's difficult.
Perhaps your husband's position is not quite clear to you.
I've already said I want to understand fully just how black the case against my husband is. I say to the police that Leonard was with me in the flat at 9:30 and they don't believe me. But perhaps there's someone who saw him leave Miss Frank's house or who saw him on the way.
But Mrs. Wool, your husband cannot think of or remember anything helpful of that kind.
So it will only be his word and mine. And mine. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
But Mrs. Wool, please don't go. There is a lot more to be discussed.
Not by me.
Why not, Mrs. Wool?
I shall have to swear, shall I not? To speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That is the oath you take.
And then suppose when you ask me when did Leonard Wool come that night, I should say?
Well,
There's so many things I could say.
Mrs. Wool, I think your statements have been somewhat ambiguous. We should be clear about this. Can you please tell us what exactly happened on the night of October the 14th?
Leonard Wool came home at 9:25 and did not go out again. Then, I have given him an alibi, shall I not?
you have. Mrs. Wool,
Yes.
you are a very remarkable woman, Mrs. Wool.
And you're satisfied, I hope.
I'm damned if I'm satisfied. That woman, she's up to something, but what?
She certainly hasn't had hysterics all over the place.
Cool as a cucumber.
What would happen if we put her in the witness box?
I don't know.
The prosecution would break her down in no time, especially if it were Myers.
If it's not the Attorney General, it probably will be.
Then what's your line of attack?
The usual. Keep interrupting. As many objections as possible.
What beats me is that young Wool is convinced of her devotion.
Never put your trust in that. Any woman can fool a man if she wants to, and if he's in love with her.
Oh, he is in love with her already. And trusts her completely.
More fool. Never trust a woman.
I appear in this case for the prosecution, and my learned friend Sir Wilfred Robarts, who hasn't arrived yet, appears for the defense. This is a case of murder. The facts are simple and up to a certain point are not in dispute. You will hear how the prisoner, a young and you may think not an attractive man, made the acquaintance of one Miss Emily French, a woman of 56, and in this case our victim. How he was treated by her with kindness and even affection. The nature of that affection, however, you will decide for yourselves. During the course of this case, you will be hearing the evidence provided by Inspector Hearn about the time and circumstances of Miss French's death. You will also be hearing the evidence provided by Janet Mackenzie, who was Miss French's faithful and devoted housekeeper. October the 14th, the day of the murder. It was a Friday and Janet Mackenzie's night out. However, on this occasion, she happened to return for a few minutes at 9:25. She let herself in with her key, and upon going upstairs to her room, she passed the door of the sitting room, where she will tell you that she heard the voices of Miss Emily French and the prisoner Leonard Wool. Janet Mackenzie was surprised, since as far as she knew, Miss French had not expected Leonard Wool to call that evening. However, she went out again, and when she finally returned at 11, she found Miss French murdered, a window smashed, the room in disorder, and the curtains blowing wildly. Horror-stricken, Janet Mackenzie immediately rang up the police. I should tell you that the prisoner was arrested on October the 20th. Members of the jury, it is the case for the prosecution that Miss Emily Jane French was murdered on the night of October the 14th between 9:30 and 10 p.m. by a blow to the head from a cosh. And that blow was struck by none other than the prisoner, Leonard Wool. I shall now call Inspector Hearn. Inspector Hearn!
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Inspector, will you please tell the jury what you know of the circumstances of Miss French's death?
Yes. On the evening of October 14th, I proceeded to 23 Ashburn Grove. I was admitted to the house and I established that the occupant, whom I later ascertained was Miss Emily French, was dead. From the body temperature and other factors, we placed the time of death between 9:30 and 10 p.m. Approximately half an hour before Janet Mackenzie, the housekeeper, had called us.
In what position did you find the body of Miss French?
She was lying on her face and had received a severe injury on the back of her head.
Was that injury the cause of death?
Yes.
Death was almost instantaneous, caused by just one blow from a heavy and a blunt instrument.
Were there any other signs of a struggle?
None. Just the one blow.
Now, Inspector, would that indicate to you that the murderer took Miss French by surprise?
My lord, I must object. My learned friend refers to the assailant as the murderer. But we have not quite yet determined whether the assailant was a man or a woman. It could quite conceivably have been the murderess.
Mr. Myers, it seems Sir Wilfred has joined us just in time to catch you on a point of ground. Please rephrase the question.
Yes, my lord. Inspector, is it your opinion that the assailant, whether he, she, or it, took Miss French by surprise?
My lord, I am taken by surprise that my learned friend should attempt to solicit from the witness an opinion and not a fact.
Quite so. You'll have to do better than that.
My lord, I withdraw the question entirely. Inspector, moving on to the facts of the case, after you established the cause and time of death, what did you then do?
A search was made, photographs were taken, and the entire premises were fingerprinted.
What fingerprints did you discover?
I found the fingerprints of Miss Emily French, those of Janet Mackenzie, and some which were later proved to be of the prisoner Leonard Holt.
No other?
No others.
Now, Inspector, did you say that the room had the appearance that a robbery had been committed?
Yes. Things were strewn about, and a window had been broken in the catch. There was glass all over the floor. And more importantly, some fragments of glass were also found outside the window. The fragments of glass outside the window, however, not consistent with the window having been forced from the outside.
So what you're trying to say is someone attempted to make it look as though it was forced from the outside. Isn't that so?
Yes, I am of the same opinion.
My lord, I must object. My learned friend is putting words into the witness's mouth. After all, if he insists on answering his own questions, the presence of witness seems superfluous.
Quite right. Don't you think so, Mr. Myers?
Yes, my lord. Inspector, did you ascertain whether any of the murdered woman's property was missing?
According to the housekeeper, nothing was missing.
And in your experience, Inspector, when burglars or burglaresses break into a house, do they usually leave without taking anything?
No, sir.
Do you produce a jacket, Inspector?
Yes, sir.
Is that the jacket, Inspector?
Yes, sir.
I propose this be tag exhibit 1. Where did you find this, Inspector?
That was a jacket found in the prisoner's house, which I later gave to the lab to test for blood stains.
And did you find any blood stains?
Yes, although an attempt had been made to wash them off.
What tests did the laboratory make?
There were two tests which were conducted. First was to determine that the stains were made by human blood, and the second was to classify it by group or type.
And was the blood of a particular group or type?
Yes, it was group O.
And did you subsequently receive the blood sample of the dead woman?
Yes, sir.
And what type was that?
It was the same group O.
Thank you, Inspector. That will be all.
Inspector, you say that the only fingerprints you found were those of Miss French, Janet Mackenzie, and the prisoner Leonard Holt. In your experience, Inspector, when a burglar breaks in, does he usually leave fingerprints or does he wear gloves?
He wears gloves.
Invariably.
Almost invariably.
So the absence of fingerprints in a case of burglary would hardly surprise you.
No, sir.
So can't you then surmise that a burglar might have entered what was presumably an empty house, might have encountered Miss French and struck her, and then realizing that she was dead, panicked and fled without taking anything?
Yes, sir.
I submit, my lord, that it is entirely impossible to guess at what went on in the mind of some entirely imaginary burglar, with or without gloves.
Quite so, Mr. Myers. Let us not surmise, Sir Wilfred, but confine ourselves to facts.
Inspector, when you question the prisoner as to the bloodstains on his jacket, did he not show you a recently healed scar and tell you that he had cut himself by slicing bread?
Yes, sir. That is what he said.
And were you not told the same by the prisoner's wife?
Yes. But afterwards she told...
Simple yes or no, please. Did the prisoner's wife not show you the knife and tell you that her husband had cut his wrist while slicing bread?
Yes, sir.
I will ask you to examine this knife, Inspector. Just as the end of this knife with your finger, carefully. You will agree that the cutting edge and point are sharp?
Yes, sir.
So then, if such a knife were to slip, might it not inflict a cut which would bleed profusely?
Yes, sir, it might.
However, if the prisoner's blood were of the same group, the blood stains on his jacket might have very well resulted from the household accident he described to you.
Yes, sir, that is possible.
Did you examine the prisoner's blood, Inspector?
No, sir.
I have here the certificate stating that Leonard Stephen Cole is a blood donor at North London Hospital, and his blood group is O. Thank you, Inspector.
Inspector, granted that the cut on the wrist was made by that knife, is there anything to show whether it was made directly after the murder to account for the blood stains?
Really, my lord, I must
I
object.
withdraw the question. You may step down, Inspector. Call Janet Mackenzie. Janet Mackenzie! The other hand, please.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your name is Janet Mackenzie,
That's my name.
and you were companion housekeeper to the late Miss French.
I was her housekeeper. I have no opinion of companions. Poor feckless bodies afraid to do a bit of honest domestic work.
Quite so, no, I only meant that you were held in esteem and affection by Miss French, and that you both were on friendly terms together, not altogether those of mistress and a servant.
For 20 years I have been with her and looked after her. She knew me and she trusted me. And many is the time I prevented her from doing a foolish action.
Miss Mackenzie, please address your remarks to the jury.
Miss Mackenzie, what sort of a person was Miss French?
She was a warm-hearted body. Too warm-hearted at times in thinking. A wee bit impulsive too. There were times when she would have no sense at all. She was easily flattered, you see.
I see. When did you first see the prisoner, Leonard Cole?
He came to the house, I mind, at the end of August.
And how often did you visit after that?
To begin with, once a week. But later it was oftener. 2 and even 3 times he would come. Sit there flattering her, noticing any new clothes she was wearing, and telling her how young she was.
Now, Miss Mackenzie, will you please tell the jury, in your own words, of course, about the events of October the 14th?
It was a Friday and my night out. I was going out to see some friends of mine on Glenister Road, which is not about 3 minutes walk. Promised to take my friend a dress pattern that she had admired. When I got there, I found I had left it behind. So after supper, I said I'd sit back to the house and fetch the pattern. When I got home, I let myself in with my key and went upstairs. As I passed the sitting room door, I heard the prisoner in there talking to Miss French.
Were you sure it was the prisoner that you heard?
I know his voice well enough. Him calling so often an agreeable voice it was. And I'd say it wasn't. Talking and laughing they were. But it was no business of mine, so I went upstairs, fetched the pattern, came down and went back to my friend.
Now, Miss Mackenzie, I want these times very exact. You say you re-entered the house at 9:25?
The pattern was on a shelf right next to a floor. I saw the time. 25 minutes past 9.
And what did you do next?
I went back to my friend on Glenister Road. She was delighted with the pattern. Simply delighted. Stayed there until 20 to 11. Then I said goodnight to them and came back home. Then went upstairs to see if the mistress wanted anything before she went to bed.
And what did you see?
She was there on the floor. Poor body. Her head beaten in. All the drawers of the bureau out on the ground. Broken vase on the floor. And the curtains lying open.
What did you do?
I rang the police.
Did you really think that a burglary had occurred?
Yes.
Really, my lord, I must object.
That question should not have been put to the jury.
Very well, let me ask you this. After you telephoned the police, what did you then do?
I searched the house.
What for?
For an intruder.
Did you find one?
No, indeed. Nor any signs of disturbance except in the sitting room.
Now, Miss Mackenzie, how well did you say you knew the prisoner, Leonard Cole?
I knew that he needed money.
Did he ask Miss French for money?
He was too clever for that.
Did he ever help Miss French with her business affairs, say for filing her income tax returns, for instance?
Aye, he did, but not there was any need of it.
What do you mean by not any need of it?
Miss French had a very good clear head for business.
Miss Mackenzie, did you know what arrangements Miss French had made for the disposal of her wealth in the event of her death?
She'd make a will as the fancy took her.
And did you know when she made her last will?
She made it on October the 8th. I heard her speaking to Mr. Stokes, the lawyer, saying he was to come to her. He was there at the time, prisoner I mean, kind of protesting, saying no, no. The mistress said, I want to, my dear boy, I want to. Remember that time I was nearly run over by a bus? It might happen any time.
Did you know when your mistress made a will previous to that one?
She made it in spring.
Now, Miss Mackenzie, did you know Leonard Cole was a married man?
No, indeed. Neither did the mistress.
I object. What Miss French knew or did not know is a pure conjecture on Janet Mackenzie's part.
Very well, let us put it this way then. You formed the opinion that Miss French thought Leonard Cole a single man. Have you any facts to support that opinion?
There were the books that she ordered from the library. There was the life of Baroness Burdett Coots, and the one about Disraeli and his wife. Both of them about women who had married men years younger than themselves. I knew what she was thinking.
I'm afraid you're not a bit that.
Why?
Members of the jury, it's completely possible for a woman to lead the life of Disraeli without contemplating marriage with a man younger than herself.
Miss Mackenzie, did Leonard Cole ever even mention a wife?
Never.
Thank you, that will be all.
Miss Mackenzie, would you please? I think we all appreciate how very devoted to your mistress you were.
I was.
You had a great influence over her?
Maybe.
In her last will, Miss French made, that is to say, one made last spring, Miss French left almost the whole of her fortune to you. You were aware of that fact?
She told me so. I have left it to you, Janet, and you can do what you think's good and right with it.
That was an expression of great trust on her part. But in a present will, I understand she has merely left you an annuity. The principal beneficiary being the prisoner, Leonard Cole.
It will be wicked injustice if he ever touches a penny of that money.
It is entirely understandable, Miss Mackenzie, that you are antagonistic to the prisoner.
I'm not antagonistic to him. I mean, he's a shifter, scheming, rascal. But I'm not antagonistic to him.
So the prisoner had great influence over her, and she had great affection for him?
That is what it had come to.
So that if the prisoner would have ever asked her for money, she would have definitely given him some.
I have not said that.
But he never received any money from her.
That cannot have been for want of trying.
Returning to the night of October the 14th, you say you heard the prisoner and Miss French talking together. What did you hear them say?
I didn't hear what they actually said.
You mean you only heard the voices? The murmur of voices?
They were laughing.
You heard a man's voice and a woman's, and they were laughing, is that right? You didn't hear what was actually said. What makes you say that the man's voice was Leonard Cole's?
I know his voice well enough.
The door was closed, was it not?
It was closed.
You heard a murmur of voices through a closed door, and you're willing to swear that one of the man's voice was that of Leonard Cole's?
Yes, I am. I know his voice well enough.
I think that is mere prejudice on your part.
It was him, I tell you. It was him. Who else could it have been?
Exactly. Who else could it have been? That is the way your mind worked. Now, tell me, Miss Mackenzie, was Miss French alone all by herself sometimes in the evening?
No, she was not alone. She had books from the library.
She listened to the violets, perhaps.
She listened to the violets.
She was fond of a talk on it, or perhaps of a good play.
Yes, she liked it.
So, wasn't it possible that on the evening you returned home, that what you really heard was the violets switched on? And the man's voice, and the woman's, and the laughter. There was a play called Lover's Sleep on the violets that night.
It was not the violets.
Oh, why not?
Because the violets was away being prepared that week and its violets.
My lord, if my learned colleague has no further questions.
I have not quite yet finished. Miss French, you are registered, are you not, under the National Health Insurance?
That is so. 4 and 6 pence I pay out every week. That is a terrible lot of money for
I think many agree with you, but tell me, did you you apply to the National Health Insurance for a hearing?
Oh, what?
For a hearing aid.
My lord, I object at the manner in which this question is being raised.
I will repeat my question, my lord. I asked you in a normal tone of voice, audible in an open court, did you apply to the National Health Insurance for a hearing aid?
Yes, I did.
Did you get it?
No, not yet.
However, you said that you walked past the door, which is 4 inches of solid oak, you heard voices, and you are willing to swear that you could distinguish the voice of the prisoner, Leonard Cole.
Who?
That be all, my lord.
Maybe you could help me, my lord. 6 months of
Someone's in very little. You may step down now. Does that conclude your case, Mr. Bali?
No, my lord. I now call the final witness for the prosecution. Romain Heger. Romain Heger!
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
My lord, I have the most serious objection to this witness being summoned by the prosecution, as she is the wife of the prisoner, Leonard Cole.
My lord, I call my learned colleague's attention to the fact that I summon not Mrs. Gold, but Mrs. Heger. Your name is in fact Romain Heger,
Yes, Romain Heger.
and you have been living as the wife of the prisoner, Leonard Gold.
Yes.
But are you actually his wife?
No. I went through a marriage ceremony with him in Berlin, but I already had a husband. He's still alive.
Romain! Is it true?
That being so, my marriage to Mr. Hole is not
Not valid.
My lord, there is a proof of a marriage between the prisoner and Mrs. Cole. There is no proof whatsoever of the previous alleged marriage.
My lord, the previous alleged marriage is in fact very well documented. Mrs. Heger, is this a certificate of marriage between yourself and one Otto Ludwig Heger? The ceremony having taken place in Berlin on the 18th of April 1942.
Yes, that is the paper of my marriage.
I think the witness is qualified to give evidence.
Mrs. Heger, are you willing to give evidence against the man you've been calling your husband?
Yes.
Now, on the night that Miss French was murdered, you stated to the police that Leonard Cole left his house at 7:30 and that he returned at 9:25. Did he in fact return at 9:25?
No. He returned at 10 minutes past 10.
Romain! What are you saying?
I must have silence.
Leonard Cole returned, you say, at 10 past 10. And what happened next?
He was breathing hard, very excited. He threw off his coat and examined the sleeves. Then he told me to wash the cuffs. They had blood on them.
Go on.
I said to him, Leonard, what have you done?
And what did the prisoner say to that?
He said, I have killed her.
What are you lying, Romain? That's not true!
As your counsel will tell you, Mr. Moore, you will soon have the opportunity to defend yourself.
It's not true! I tell you it's not true!
Please calm down. Mrs. Heger, are you sure of what you're saying?
I am to speak the truth. Am I not, my lord?
You may proceed, Mr. Barnes.
Mrs. Heger, when the prisoner said to you, I have killed her, did you know to whom he referred?
Yes. It was that woman he'd been going to see so often.
Now then, when questioned by the police, you told them Leonard Cole returned at 9:25.
Yes. Because Leonard told me to say that.
But now you've changed your story. Why?
I cannot go online to save him. I said to the police what he wanted me to say because I'm grateful to him. He married me and brought me to this country. What he's asked me to do, I have always done because I'm grateful.
It was not because he was your husband and that you loved him.
No, I never loved him.
It was gratitude to the prisoner then that prompted you to give him an alibi in your statement to the police.
Yes, that is it, exactly.
But now you feel it was wrong to do so?
It is murder. That woman, she was a harmless old fool, and he makes of me an accomplice to the murder. I cannot come into court and swear that he was with me at the time it was done. I cannot do it. I cannot do it.
Then this is the truth. That Leonard Cole returned that night at 10 past 10, that he had blood on the sleeve of his coat, and that he said to you, I have killed her.
That is the truth.
That is the truth before God.
That is the truth.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vole or Mrs. Liga, which one do you prefer to be called?
It does not matter.
Does it not? In this country, we take a rather serious view of marriage. However, Mrs. Liga, it would appear that when you first met the prisoner in Berlin, you lied to him about your marital status.
I wanted to get out of Germany.
You lied her. Simple yes or no, please.
Yes.
Thank you. And subsequently, in arranging the marriage, you lied to the authorities.
I did not tell the truth to the
You
authorities.
lied to them.
Yes.
And in the ceremony of marriage itself, when you swore to love and to cherish and to honor your husband, that too was a lie.
Yes.
And when the police questioned you about this wretched man who believed himself loved and married, you told them...
I told them what Leonard wanted me to say.
You told them he was with you at 25 minutes past 9 and now you say that was a lie.
Yes, a lie.
And when you said that he had accidentally cut his wrist, again you lied?
Yes.
Now you have told us an entirely new story, Mrs. Liga. The question is, were you lying then or are you lying now or are you not in fact a amateur and chronic liar?
My lord, I object. Can my learned friend be allowed to bully and insult the witness in this fashion?
Mr. Myers, this is a capital charge, and within the bounds of reason, I should like the defense to have every latitude.
My lord, may I also remind my learned friend that this witness, by her own admission, has already violated so many oaths that I am surprised that the testament did not leak from her hands when she was sworn here today. I don't think anything else is to be gained by questioning you any further. Thank you, Mrs. Liga.
Mrs. Liga, I presume you know the meaning of the English word perjury, the German word being minor.
Yes, minor. It means to swear falsely under oath.
And are you also aware that in this country the penalty for perjury is a heavy term of imprisonment?
Yes, I'm aware.
Mindful of this fact, I ask you once more, is the evidence you have provided the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Then that, my lord, is the case for the prosecution. You may sit down.
Let me also. My lord, members of the jury, the prosecution has very ably presented a case against the prisoner, a case of strong circumstantial evidence. Among the witnesses, you have heard Chief Inspector Hearn, who has given his testimony in a fair and impartial manner, as he always does in these cases. He has evolved and put before a clever theory of how this crime was committed. Now, whether this is a theory or an actual fact, however, you shall decide for yourselves. Then you have also heard the evidence of Janet Mackenzie, a worthy and devoted housekeeper who has suffered the most grievous losses. One, the death of her beloved mistress, and second, in being deprived of an inheritance of £80,000 which she had fully expected to receive. I shall not comment any further on her evidence, but will only express my deepest sympathy for her in both these mishaps. And finally, and the most damaging of all, the prosecution has produced one surprise witness, one Romain Liga, whom the prisoner married and brought from the rubble of her homeland to the safety of this country, thereby giving her his love and protection of his name. I had earlier objected to her testimony because a wife cannot give evidence harmful to her husband. But it has now been proven that her marriage to Leonard Vole was fraudulent and bigamous. So her evidence must be admitted, and you must consider it for what it is worth. Such is the prosecution's case. Now it is the turn of the defense. The defense can produce on the behalf of the prisoner a variety of witnesses to his character, his war record, or lack of criminal or even association in the past. However, only one witness can shed new light on this tragic riddle. The prisoner himself. Members of the jury, I shall now call the prisoner, Leonard Stephen Vole.
Leonard Stephen Vole! I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your name is in fact Leonard Stephen Gold?
Yes, it is.
Where do you live?
55 Crocodile Court Road.
Leonard Stephen Gold. Did you or did you not on the night of October 14th murder Emily Jane French?
I did not.
Then that, my lord, will be the case for the defense.
Have you in fact concluded your examination, Mr. Prince?
My lord, the prisoner has endured in this court some of the most profound mental agony and shock. The defense feels that his faculty should be spared for the cross-examination by the prosecution. This is not a plea for any indulgence. I am confident that no matter how searching this may be, the prisoner shall withstand it.
Mr. Ward, at the time you made the acquaintance of Miss French, were you employed?
No, sir.
How much money did you have?
Only a few pounds.
Did she give you any money?
No, not a penny.
Did you expect to receive it?
No, sir.
Did you know that in her new will, you were the beneficiary to the extent of £80,000?
No, I did not.
Now, Mr. Wool, when you went to visit Miss French for the last time, did you wear a trench coat and a round hat?
Yes, I did.
Was it this coat and hat?
Yes.
My lord, the defense, leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to establish an alibi for the prisoner, circulated this photograph, hoping to bring forth a witness who had seen the prisoner leave Miss French's house or enter his own at the times that he has taken. Apparently, this splendid effort was without results. However, the defense will be pleased to hear that at the last minute, a witness did come forward, and that the prisoner was indeed sighted in his coat and his hat. Lamentably, it was not on the night of the murder, but exactly 1 week before. On the afternoon of October the 8th, were you or were you not at a travel agency in Regent Street? And did you or did you not make inquiries about the most expensive luxurious cruises?
But supposing I did, it's not a crime, is it?
Not at all. Many people go for a cruise when they can pay for it. But you couldn't pay for it, could you, Mr. Wood?
I was hard up. I told you so.
And yet you walk into this particular travel agency with a brunette. And then you admit to making inquiries about those expensive luxurious cruises? How did you expect to pay for such a thing?
I don't know. It was all made.
Well, perhaps if you don't know, I can help you. On the morning of the very same day, you heard Miss French change her bill, leaving you the bulk of her money.
I didn't. I knew nothing about the bill.
In the afternoon, you started making plans to dispose of that money.
No, it was nothing of the kind. You see, I was in a bar when I met this girl. I don't even know her name. We had a couple of drinks, and then we saw those posters on the windows. All blue seas and palm trees. The Grecian Islands or someplace. So we went in just for the fun of it, and I started asking for folders. The man gave me a sort of a funny look because I looked a bit shabby. And it irritated me, so I kept asking for as trying as soon as possible. All deluxe and a cabin on the board deck, just putting on an act.
An act? Not an act. You knew that in a week you would inherit £80,000.
No, it was never like that. It was make-believe and childish. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't thinking of killing anybody or getting any money.
It was just a remarkable coincidence then that Miss French be murdered only 1 week later.
I've told you I didn't kill her.
Can you suggest any reason why the witness, Romain Leader, should deliberately give the evidence she has given, but it got the truth?
No, I don't. I don't know why my wife... I don't even know why I still call my wife. She must have been lying out of her mind.
She seemed remarkably sane and self-possessed. Yet insanity is the only reason you can suggest.
I don't understand it. God, what's happened? What has changed her?
Very effective, I'm sure. But in this court, we deal with fact. And the fact is, Mr. Ball, that we have only your word for it. That you say you left Miss French's house at the time you did. That you came home at 9:30 and did not go out again.
But someone must have seen me in the street or going into the house.
One would certainly think so. But the only person who did see you come home that night says it was at 10:10. And she said you had got on your clothes.
I cut my wrist.
You cut your wrist permanently.
No, I didn't. But you make it sound as though I did. I can hear it myself.
You came home at 10:10.
No, I didn't. You've got to believe me. You've got to believe me.
You killed Emily French.
No, I didn't. I didn't kill her. I never killed anybody. Oh God, it's awful. It's some ghastly, horrible dream.
Like that, my eyes when I said in trouble. I knew she was up to something, but what? What's the game, John? What is she up to?
Presumably to see you to get young and old convicted of murder.
Look what he's done for her.
Probably not too much for her.
And she despises him for it, that's likely enough. But why be vindictive? After all, if she was born with him, all she had to do was walk on. It doesn't seem to be any financial reason for her to remain with him. Somebody pick up the goddamn phone!
Yes? Yes, it is. May I know who this is? I'm afraid that will be impossible. What is the nature of your business? Really, madam, unless you tell me.
What is this you said about Mr. Leonard? What is this you were talking about?
I'm sorry. What?
What is it you have got, madam?
I wasn't today. I want the sheriff to have evidence to.
But as to this special information you have,
It's letters. That's what it is. Letters.
letters written by Romain Paul to the prisoner.
To the prisoner? Don't make me laugh. Poor bloody prisoner needs me to be by her, all right? And these letters prove it.
If you'd let us see these letters, we can advise you as to how pertinent they are.
I had a parcel sent this afternoon.
Carter!
Greta!
Greta! Did you receive any parcels this afternoon?
The parcel on your desk, sir?
How did you get hold of these?
I have letters from Mrs. Walker office. And this is her handwriting. She wrote these letters.
What is it? How did you get hold of these, I asked?
What difference does it make? Just so she gets what's coming to her.
Incredible. Will look at this one. Oh, double vindictiveness.
What is it you're up against her?
You see, there was this chap I was going with, and going steady I was too. He was a bit younger than me, but I loved him. Then she came along, started seeing him on the fly, and then one day he cleared out. I went after him and I found them together. I told him what I thought of her, and he cut my face up proper.
Did you go to the police about it?
Who, me? Not likely. Besides, it wasn't his fault. Not really. It was hers. It was all hers. Getting him away from me, turning him against me. But I waited my time to pay her back. And it's come now. Those letters are the goods, aren't they?
They would. I think be very useful. John, have a look at this one.
We can have a handwriting expert on these for safety's sake. And he can give evidence if necessary.
What did you say this man's surname was? Hello? Hello? She hung up. There's not a damn hope of getting this man's surname now.
We won't get it. She thought this through very carefully. They give you her name, hung up as soon as she realized you were receiving your letters. She didn't dare have the risk of appearing in the witness box. She'd have protection. Would she really? And for how long, Wilfred? You know he'd get her. She's already did something giving us this information. She does not want to have the man in all of this. It's from a heater she's after.
And what a beauty our woman is. But at last we have got something to go on. Well, cheers to that.
Members of the jury, I shall be brief in my final speech. Because I believe
Since the defense has had only one witness, the prisoner, I think, Mr. Meyer, if you're ready, we will have the final address of the prosecution.
Sorry, I continue.
I shall be brief in my final speech because I believe the prosecution has proved so obvious a case of murder against the prisoner that the verdict of guilty seems to be the only possible conclusion. I shall now briefly summarize these facts.
You better begin again, that is, if Sir Wilson is at all interested in the proceedings.
I am indeed, my lord. The submission of the ground, however, is premature. I ask you that the case be reopened and a witness be recalled.
My lord, I object at the reopening of a case which the prosecution considers closed.
Evidence of the most startling nature has come into possession only last night.
My lord, the procedure that my learned colleague proposes is quite unprecedented.
The letters, sir. I've got letters written by Romain Bold to the prisoner.
My lord, I continue my objection. This procedure is quite unprecedented.
I have anticipated my friend's objection and I am prepared to meet it with ample precedent. There was first the case of King against Stillman, reported in King Appeal Reports at page, in 1942 at page 153. And there is the case of King against Stillman, reported in Criminal Appeal Reports of 1926 at page 463. And also King against Potter, in which this issue was raised. And I'm sure your lordship will remember, because he himself appeared for the prosecution.
I did? Before Justice Swinton. Now, what is this thing evidence of?
Letters, my lord, letters written by Romain Bold.
My lord, the prosecution continues its objection. If my memory serves me well, your lordship's similar objection in the King against Sullivan was sustained.
Your memory, for one, serves you ill, Mr. Myers. My objection to Justice Swinton was turned down, just as yours is now by me. You may proceed.
Call Romain Hilga.
Romain Hilga!
Mrs. Hilga, you know a man named Max.
I don't know what you mean.
It's a simple question. Do you or do you not know a man named Max?
Certainly not.
It's a fairly common name, and yet you say that you have never known a man by the name of Max.
In Germany, perhaps, but that was a long time ago.
I shall not ask you to go back that far, but only a week back to the 20th of October last.
What have you got there?
A letter. I would suggest that on 20th of October you wrote a certain letter
I don't know what you're talking about.
to a man named
I
Max.
did nothing of the sort.
A letter which was but one of the series written to the same man.
Lies! All lies!
You would certainly seem to have been on, let us say, on intimate terms with this man.
How dare you say a thing like that? It's not true.
The prisoner, in his own interest, will remain silent.
Silence! I have not listened to the general trend of this correspondence, but only in one particular letter. My beloved Max, an extraordinary thing has happened. I believe all our
I will not
difficulties...
stand here and listen to a pack of lies. That letter is a forgery. It isn't even my letter paper.
Oh, it isn't?
No, I write my letters in small brown paper with my initials on it.
Like this? Now that you have been kind enough to identify your letter paper, we can have an expert identify your handwriting.
Damn you! Damn you!
This is Hilga.
Let me go! Let me get out of here!
Sir Wilfred, will you please read the letter concerned for the benefit of the jury?
My beloved Max, an extraordinary thing has happened. I believe all our difficulties may be ended. I gave a testimony that saying Leonard Vole came in at 9:25 and that it would save him. I will meet you soon Count the hours before we meet. With love, Romain Hilliard.
Mrs. Hilliard, would you please step into the witness box?
I shall now ask you, did you write this letter?
Before you answer that, Mrs. Hilliard, let me warn you. The law against perjury in this country is very severe, and you shall not go unpunished. However, if you have not written this letter, this is the time for you to come clean on it.
Please answer my question. Did you write this letter?
I wrote the letter.
So that, my lord, will be the case for the defense.
Has the jury made its decision? Yes, we have. You find the prisoner Leonard Stephen Bowl guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. All rise! Anybody who has anything against the result so far will protest tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. God save the Queen! God save the Queen.
Congratulations, my dear boy.
I can't thank you enough, sir.
I think that man needs to be thanked.
Well, thank you, sir. You got me on a very nasty mess.
Nasty mess. Do you hear that, John? Your troubles are over now, my boy.
But it was a real thing, you know.
If only we hadn't been able to break her down.
Did you have to go after her the way you did? I mean, it was terrible the way she went to pieces. But then again, I couldn't believe she did what she did. I can't see why. I mean, she always seems so devoted. It's something I just don't understand.
Look here, Bowl. You're not the only young man I've known who's been so crazy over a woman that he's been blinded by her to what she's really like. That woman tried her level best to put a rope around her neck. And don't you forget it.
You better wait till here, ma'am. The crowd is in a nasty mess. I had better disperse the crowd before you go.
Thank you.
Don't you dare.
Are you trying to protect Leonard from me?
You've done enough harm already.
May I even congratulate him on being free
There's no need.
and rich?
Rich?
Well, yes, Miss Soul, I think you will inherit great deals of money from this.
Well, money doesn't seem to mean so much after what I've been through. But Romain, I don't understand
Leonard,
why.
I can explain.
No!
Mr. Wool, I think it's better if we follow the court. Now we still have some formalities to complete.
Okay, Mr. Wood.
I never thought you British could get so emotional, especially in a public place.
Oh, I apologize for my compatriots.
Tell me, do those words the judge said mean that I should go to prison?
You would quite certainly be charged for perjury and tried for it. You would go to prison.
It won't be for life, will it?
If I'm retained for prosecution, it would be.
You look at me, don't you? Like those people outside? What a wicked woman I am, and how brilliantly you saved Leonard's life. The great Sir Wilfrid Roberts did it again. Well, let me tell you something. You didn't do it alone. You had help.
What are you driving at?
I'm not driving at anything anymore. Leonard is free, and we did it.
We?
Remember when I came to you and you told me that no jury would ever believe the evidence given by a loving wife, no matter how much she swore her husband was innocent? That gave me the idea.
What idea?
That I should appear as a witness, not for my husband, but for the prosecution. And I should swear that Leonard was guilty and that you should expose me as a vicious liar. Only then would they believe that Leonard was innocent. Those letters were the kids' weren't they, ducky?
It's something, but not that. Never that.
Thank you for the compliment. It's been a long time since I've been an actress, but I've never before played such an important role.
And all those brown letters?
It took me hours to write them, to invent Max. There never was a Max. There never has been anyone but Leonard. Only Leonard.
My dear, could you not have told me, worked with me truthfully and honorably? We could have won.
I could not want that myself. You see, you thought Leonard was innocent.
And you knew he was innocent, I understand?
No, you don't understand at all, Solicitor. I knew he was guilty.
No, that can't be true. No!
Listen to me once and for all. Leonard came home a few minutes past 10. He did have blood on the sleeves of his jacket, and he did tell me that he had murdered that woman. Only I could save him. He pleaded with me.
And you saved him! A murderer!
Again, you don't understand. I love him.
I told you she was an actress.
Leonard.
And a good one. Well, I knew she would do something for me. I just did not know what or how.
Leonard.
Who you completely
After 25 years to be so stupid and blind!
Easy now, you see, we both got out of this alive. Let's say that way. Go have a smoke or something.
There are courts in England that are not through with you yet.
Oh yes, they are. You see, you've done too good a job in getting me off. I can't be tried again, and that's the law. You know it.
No one can get him off. Nobody can.
You'll pay for this somehow.
Len. Oh, Len. They were trying to keep us away from each other. Len. Really What do you mean by this girl? I'm Len's girl. And I know all about you. You're not his wife. You never have been.
Is this true, Leonard? Is she your girl?
Tell Len.
Yes, she is.
What can she do for you that can compare with that?
Well, she's 15 years younger than you are.
You can't leave me. I won't let you.
Be silly now. I saved your life getting you out of Germany, and you saved mine getting you out of this mess. It's all over. It's even now.
Leonard, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me.
Now go, listen. Or they will have you up there for perjury. Don't make it worse, or they will try you as an accessory. And you know what that means.
I don't care, Leonard. Let them try me for murder. Let them try me as an accessory. Better still. Let them try me for murder.
Killed him. She executed him.